Hello and welcome to our show, Film Talk with AJ Dean. I'm AJ Dean, your host, and look out, Hollywood. I have Hollywood royalty today. I am so honored to have Katharine Kat Kramer. She's a journalist, host, podcaster, actress, producer, and so much more. We're going to get all into it soon. Let's give her a super warm welcome. I'm just so happy that you are here, Kat. How are
Oh,
you?
I'm doing great. This is the deaf way you say applause because I advocate for the deaf community and the disabilities community. So I always start with this. And we should probably do our audio visual descriptions. Yeah, I meant to tell you that because I always incorporate that for the blind and the visually impaired. So do you want to go first or should I go first?
Yes, absolutely. Go first, Kat. Take it away.
Well, I'm Kat Kramer. I'm a white woman with kind of short, flaming red hair, right? And I'm wearing a green um, jacket with a green necklace, and I have green eyes. And I have my Sheroes for Change logo behind me.
Beautiful.
Take
And
it
you
away.
look so lovely. And I'm AJ Dean. I am wearing a black sparkly hat in the style of old Hollywood and a pink necklace and a black turtleneck. And I am a host and producer of Film Talk with AJ Dean. I'm also development manager at Butterfly Films. And I have a background that says Film Talk with AJ Dean. It's purple and black. And we're just so happy that you're here listening. Thank you to
That
everyone
was
out there.
beautiful. Oh my gosh. Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you, Kat. And with that, I want to ask Kat, how are you? It's so lovely to have you here. And you are Hollywood royalty. I want everyone to know that your father, legendary filmmaker, director, Stanley Kramer, who did incredible films and that really had social messages and touched people's hearts throughout the whole world, your father, you're stepping into, well, actually, you're continuing in his legacy and in his footsteps. So, how are you doing in Hollywood? Tell us about a little bit about you, and then I'll start with the questions.
Thank you. Well, I do my best in my own small way to carry on his legacy in my own way. I mean, I'm making socially conscious films as a filmmaker and acting and producing and live performance and moderating Q&As for socially conscious films. I think that's the best way I follow in his footsteps is through my cinema series, Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World, which I launched to give other filmmakers a voice that were making films of social content. So I'm not necessarily presenting my father's films, though there will be a surprise coming up about that. But I've been presenting and hosting and moderating Q&As and giving other filmmakers a voice, primarily with nonfiction films, primarily documentaries. Not all of them are, but I just find that in nonfiction, you can tell the truth and they're much more gut punching. You get the message out there, they're not glossed over, and they're just so impactful. So it has been a trend that I've been showing documentaries and also narrative films, all, covering the issues that he would have covered if he were around, and some of the same issues that we're still sadly tackling today to try and make change. So
Absolutely.
that's the best way I carry on his legacy. And then also, my family and I are the, you know, um, caretakers, and we nurture and oversee the Stanley Kramer Library and his legacy.
Wonderful. And also the Katharine Hepburn Cultural
Yeah.
Center. Yes, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, my godmother was Katharine Hepburn. I'm named after her. And when I was supposedly when I was born, and I know this is true because they showed it to me, but and my mom tells the story better than I do, but she sent my parents a christening dress saying, "She will forever be telling them spell it with an A." I imitate her in my show because nobody ever spells, rarely do they spell Catherine properly. Her spelling, which is my spelling, the original old-fashioned way of spelling Catherine, Katharine. And there's hundreds of different ways to spell it. So I finally just said, call me Kat, because nobody could ever spell it right. And what a lot of people don't know is that she was known as Kat to her very close friends and family. So where people think of her as Catherine or Kate, she really was known as Kat amongst her family and close friends. So I try and go by Kat as much as possible to make sure they spell it K-A-T.
Yes, I love that so much. And it's so amazing that you are her goddaughter and you are continuing to represent Catherine's with an A all over the world in style and elegance. I just want to say that to you, Kat. And you're also the daughter of Karen Sharp Kramer, Hollywood actor and producer. I want to touch on that. You're both of your parents, blockbuster kind of Hollywood superstars in a way, aren't they? I mean, isn't it
Yes,
incredible the
yeah.
legacy that you have?
Well, my mom and I are she's my producing partner. We have a production company, and she also is my manager right now. So it's a challenge to be the mother-daughter and then to wear that professional hat with her. And the projects we're producing, each of us have our own like pet projects, but we all work together uh, as a production company. And K&K Productions Inc. is the parent company that also produces the live events of Kat Kramer's films that changed the world and Sheroes for Change. And we have Forget Me Not Juanita Moore Productions, which we can talk about, is a nonprofit that we established with the late Juanita Moore's family. And we were instrumental in getting her a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And we have a whole nonprofit and a production entity that's going to acknowledge, Black performers and entertainers and artists that are often overlooked. So that's another thing we work on together. And then I have Kat Kramer Comedy, which I launched during the pandemic. K&K Productions is really the center of all of this.
I love
And
that.
we were so happy to be able to have her recognized for a posthumous star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame last October. It'll be October 18th will be the 1 year anniversary. And then my mom and I produced the after party. That was her birthday party in her honor because her birthday was October 19th. And what a lot of people don't know is that my father got the very first completed star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yes, when they first started to, have the completed stars on the new walk in March of 1960. So I've been really passionate all my life since I found out he got the first star, making sure that deserving individuals are nominated and hopefully selected for their stars. And Juanita Moore was the first posthumous one that I've ever been involved with. So
Amazing.
we just have so many outreach programs and things with K&K, and that Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World is presenting Sheroes for Change. And another thing coming up, which I will announce closer to when it launches, called Trailblazer Tributes. So heard it here first.
Oh, wow. I have an
I'm
exclusive.
keeping that one under wraps. You do, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I love everything that you're involved in, Kat. You're doing so many great things. And I also want to mention you were a former Miss Golden Globe ambassador. We watch the Golden Globes, and are those the lovely ladies that walk on stage and present the award? Tell us about that.
Yes, yes. Well, I was Miss Golden Globe when they recently, transitioned a bit with how the Golden Globes and they don't have the Mr. or Miss Golden Globe right now, which I hope it's sad. I hope that legacy comes back. But my father, which many people don't know, also was very instrumental in the formation of the Hollywood Foreign Press, which presents the Golden Globes. And my mother won a Golden Globe Best Newcomer for her role in The High and the Mighty, which was really not her film debut, but that was her breakthrough movie. And so I was Miss Golden Globe. So we really are a Golden Globe family. And yes, I had to bring the Golden Globe out to the presenters, and I was spotlighted on the show. And you have to be the son or daughter of, a Hollywood couple or somebody famous in the industry who's working in the industry. And they didn't have Mr. Golden Globe when I was Miss Golden Globe. They started that soon after. And because I became an ambassador, I would go and sometimes coach whoever was going to be or give tips to whoever was Mr. Golden Globe or Miss Golden Globe. And I went every year to the ceremony as tradition. And I think I'm the only former Miss Golden Globe ambassador that ever went every year. So it's a big part of that's also my personal legacy and the family legacy.
Isn't that something? This is
Yeah,
so
and it
cool.
is the best party of the year, and I hope that tradition comes back.
I
I'd
hope,
like to bring it back somehow. That would be a goal because it's important.
yes. And
We're also trying to reopen the Cinerama Dome. My mother and I were both, championed that many years ago when the ArcLight Hollywood opened and the Cinerama Dome was part of it. They wanted to close it, and we were part of the with the city a petition to make sure that didn't happen. And a lot of filmmakers and film buffs got behind it. And then during the pandemic, it all closed down again. And the ArcLight Hollywood, which was the owners that had this new theater complex next to the dome, that all shut down and became other entities. And the Cinerama Dome is still there, and they've been promising it's going to reopen since the last couple of years because the pandemic is behind us, but it still hasn't reopened. So we're part of, to a community to gain momentum to have them reopen because my father had the Cinerama Dome built way before my time, but back in 1963 for the opening of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. And a lot of people don't know that that was also the film that opened the dome and played there for like a year. And when the dome did finally reopen, we had a huge anniversary event. And my mom produced all the anniversary events at the dome and other places here in LA. And so we really want to do that again because I think if we ever needed that movie, we need to laugh, but my father would say it really is a mad, 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 mad world if he was around now.
isn't that true?
Really, I think for the first time, he would say now it really is that. I mean, before they talk about it, but we're living proof that it's a mad, and we'd have to add an extra mad to it. So I feel that that would be important to reopen it because the whole film community here wants it open. And, we're involved with the preservation of that historic building. It does need to reopen, even if it becomes a place that's more heightened, like for experiences or, you know, um, things that are more interactive. I think that would be amazing to have Mad World be that film.
Oh my gosh, yes, definitely. Let's get behind that. And everyone out there, if you can write letters and support that, that would be good too, as well. Helping everyone together. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, yes, yeah. And he also filmed most of it in Palm Springs.
Oh,
And it hasn't been announced yet, but we plan to bring it because most of it was filmed on location in Palm Springs and Palm Desert. And he has a posthumous star on the Palm Springs Walk of Stars and involved with the Palm Springs Plaza Theater, which is reopening in December. And we have a chair there with the family name. And so we're going to do something with Mad World in Palm Springs when I can't announce it yet, but that's going to be happening next year.
oh my gosh,
Sure. So
very.
you heard that scoop here too.
Oh my gosh, I'm full of exclusives on this show. I'm so happy for you, and thank you so much for sharing that, Kat, with us. I wanted to ask, you're so much like your dad. I just love you, and I love your dad, and I love your mom too, doing all of these incredible things. Thank you, Karen Sharp Kramer. Just want to give a shout out to her. What would your dad think of AI and all of it happening today?
I don't know because he was always ahead of his time and progressive with like the first in so many areas. Like the first star on the Walk of Fame, the first to show certain things on film, the first to tackle certain subjects. So I don't know. I mean, I have reservations about AI replacing actors and writers and directors and performers, but it's very good for other things technically. So I don't know. I was just thinking about how can they control, how can Hollywood or just the film industry at large, control AI and only use it when it needs to be used to enhance, but not to take away from human beings doing their thing. So I really don't think we can stop it. So I don't know, he would probably embrace part of it, but not all of it. I'm
Absolutely,
dealing
yes.
with that now too on projects and how much, AI just goes into the pitch deck or how much is, written by the individual. because it can be used as a tool for so many things.
It can. Kat, what I love about most about you is your empathy. You
Oh,
have incredible empathy for human beings, your heart, and the world. And I've done research on you. You are an amazing and beautiful, you're a lovely soul and a treasure in the film industry. And I believe artisans like you can help humanity and the world heal and understand AI and all of this going forward because you bring that sense of compassion and understanding that most filmmakers aspire to. So I wanted to touch on that. Tell me what your thoughts are about that.
I'm so glad you that really touches me. And I have to say I'm an animal rights and a wildlife advocate and activist. So I care just as much about the planet and wildlife conservation and animal rights as I do human rights. And, Jane Goodall passed just recently, and the film that I presented for my 13th installment for Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World, Walking Thunder, Ode to the African Elephant, Jane Goodall was the biggest supporter and she endorsed the film.
I'm Kat Kramer at the 13th installment for Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World, and I'm beyond honored to be presenting Walking Thunder, Ode to the African Elephant, which I've been talking to Cyril Christo and Marie Wilkinson about doing since the pandemic started, and here we are tonight with Lysandra Christo, the star of the film.
And her quotes are what brought a lot of attention to the film. And we're having another screening of it, which I was invited to do coming up at La Femme International Film Festival in its 21st year, which is a female-focused festival, to present this film again for audiences that missed it last time. And I decided we're dedicating it in Jane Goodall's memory. And I think it's the only film coming up about elephants and about wildlife and about the climate and but focus so much on elephants and how important they are to the ecosystem and to our survival as a species. The film will be dedicated to her, and it's just right around the corner. And so that's when you mention that opens my eyes to the fact that the movie is seen through the eyes of a little boy. And even though it's going to have a special screening at La Femme, which is female filmmakers and female focused. His parents were the directors and producers of the film, and it's very female empowerment oriented, even though it's seen through the eyes of a child. And he's 19 years old now, and he was there at the LA premiere that I had back in August for my 13th installment. And I believe his parents are coming this time, flying in. We're going to have an amazing panel, and there's another movie I'm showing first that I'm happy they asked me to present called It's Our Ball, which is a short film, also very female focused, about a female basketball team of seniors here in Pasadena, California. And that's Penny Edmiston's film, and Judy Marceline wrote it and is part of it, and the director is a male, David Sullivan. But I'm very proud to be presenting these films. And the next day, I'm moderating the panel for a new movie about the environment, climate change. It's called Third Degree Burnout, A Survivor's Guide by Nivi Jaswal. And I'm an executive producer on this film. And that will be done through Sheroes for Change. So when you just say like about, fighting for rights, human rights and animal rights, all three of these movies cover that. And they're all, being presented and hosted by me through Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World and Sheroes for Change at La Femme, which I'm very honored to be part of that festival.
I love that.
Leslie Lepage started, yes, because it's been around for 21 years, and that's kind of a record for film festivals, and it's really the only one that's female focused.
Amazing. Tell us about films that change the world. We have a picture here of you hugging the elephant. I love that so much. And
That
then,
was the big exhibit that was just here in Beverly Hills back in August of the Great Migration. And I did a video promo where I quoted Jane Goodall and Peter Coyote and Ken Burns and all these amazing, artists and individuals that support Walking Thunder, Ode to the African Elephant, because there's a lot of films about elephants and wildlife, but this movie really is different than the rest because it's showing how a child represents how humans and wildlife must coexist if we're going to survive. And that movie is 20 years in the making, 10 years filming over a 10-year period, all on location in Africa and Kenya and South Africa, so that it's a perfect film for me to bring to my series because it's the fourth wildlife film I've presented and the third one about elephants.
well, incredible. And I,
The son, that's the little boy, Lysander Christo, who grew up. So he's the child in the movie. His parents were not there that night. They were not able to fly in, so he came representing the film. And so I interviewed him because he is the heart and soul of the film. And he was on the panel and he read a poem a poem and a statement that his father, Cyril Christo, gave him to read.
and it's through his eyes, isn't it?
The whole movie is through his eyes, yes.
And I love that. So I'm so excited. Congratulations. And this is going to be so thrilling. So please get your tickets for La
Yes.
Femme Film
Yes.
Festival. It's coming
Please
up.
do. Yeah.
Go
You want me
ahead.
to give the date? It's on October next Friday, October 17th. And if you buy tickets, I'm hosting a pre-reception first at 6:30 from 6:30 to 7:30. And then the introduction, and both films are going to be shown. It's Our Ball, which is about the all-female senior basketball team, and it's a really great movie that's Oscar worthy. And then followed by Walking Thunder, Ode to the African Elephant, and there is going to be a Q&A panel, which I'm moderating with special guests. And then you can also get your tickets for next morning. It's bright and early at 10 a.m. for Third Degree Burnout, a survivor's guide. And that I'm going to be moderating the panel. And that's a very important film that I'm an executive producer on. And it's lafemme.org. And it's all at the Regal at LA Live. But you
My
don't want to
gosh.
miss this festival because there's so much going on. And I'm very happy to be part of both those two that evening on the 17th and the morning of the 18th.
Wonderful, wonderful. So get your tickets now and you can participate and attend the festival and see Kat. Oh my gosh, you're going to be on a panel, right, Kat?
I'm moderating both panels, yes. So I have a lot of special guests, the filmmakers from It's Our Ball, special guests that are elephant activists, and possibly some surprises. And then the next morning, experts on the film Third Degree Burnout.
Wow, wow. This is just going to be, it's going to be a fabulous festival. And so reserve your seats now. Get those tickets and get all your outfits ready to the red
There's a
carpet.
red carpet on Friday night from 6 to 6:30 for the people that want to walk the carpet. I mean, it'll be a
That's
party
always
because we're
fun.
having a reception. We're having a pre-reception
Yeah.
with food and drink, and it's going to be very nice. And then leading into the film. So the whole festival is October 16th through 19th, and I believe it's all down at the Regal. That's the home for it.
Oh,
So yeah, definitely get your tickets.
we love Regal.
Definitely.
So
Yeah, films that changed the world I established in 2009. We had the Stanley Kramer Theater at Sunset Gower Studios, which was formerly Columbia, where he made Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. And a lot of his films, most of his movies were either United Artists or Columbia. So that was his studio at the end of his great reign was Columbia. And I just wanted to experiment by having a film that that I had a social issue message, but it was female empowerment, and that was Barbara Streisand's Yentl, which was one of my favorite films that my father and I used to watch. And she's always been a role model to me, and it was the first time a woman in history had, she wrote it, directed it, starred in it, produced it, even sang on the, sang the songs. It was the first time a woman, a female star of that status, was doing all those roles that normally men did. So she broke the glass ceiling, and the film is about female empowerment. So I decided to make it a female only. There were a few men there, but mostly a women's luncheon to kick off this films that changed the world. And I didn't even really know what it was going to become. I was just experimenting. Let's have a gathering. It was the 25th anniversary of the film. It was just coming out on DVD in 2009. And when I did it, it was such a success that I decided I was going to continue this. And the next film was The Cove, the film about the dolphin slaughter in Japan, in Taiji, Japan, which ended up winning the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. And I had invited Academy members because they were unsure to vote for it because there's like a lot of dolphin slaughter. Just a small part of the film has the dolphin slaughter. But, my father made Bless the Beasts and Children, which was the first animal rights movie, also about gun control, but it focused on slaughtering of the buffalo. And so this movie was a parent film to that in the sense it was about animal and wildlife abuse. And it was winning awards at all the guilds. It was capturing everyone's attention, but the Academy is a bit of a different, animal, let's say, than the other guilds in Hollywood. The Academy is its own entity. And a lot of the Academy voters were skeptical to even watch The Cove. So I had them come to that particular screening at a soundstage at Sunset Gower, Sunset Bronson Studios, because I'd outgrown my father's screening room. It was only 91 people, and we had a soundstage for 600, and the filmmakers flew in for it. And I had a 5-year-old activist, a little boy, say he'd seen the movie and he spoke to the adults from his heart. If I can watch the dolphin slaughter and see what we need to stop doing, we need to stop the slaughter, why can't the adults watch it? And that all the Academy members that were there went and voted for it, and it won the Oscar. And I went to I celebrated also at the Vanity Fair party with the filmmakers afterwards. And then they found out they did a sting operation right after the screening. They used my event as a call to action. They found out that the Hump restaurant in Santa Monica was illegally serving whale meat. So they showed that footage and they ended up shutting down the Hump. But we did protests. CNN filmed us protesting. And so I thought, my screening series is more than just showing movies with social issue. It can become a call to action and make change. So that's when I decided to continue doing it. And the movies kind of just, they came to me, and I really believe my father was guiding me. And I've never ever screened any of his films. The closest I ever came was because I only screen new films. After Yentl was the only older classic film. The rest were all new documentaries and narrative films that were new, that were, needed to be shown because they were controversial subjects like my father, but they were other filmmakers, as I mentioned, having the same voice as him, following in his footsteps by giving other filmmakers a chance. And I showed in 2013 for my 5th anniversary Fallout, which is an Australian documentary about the making of On the Beach, which my father made, which was a very controversial but big award-winning movie, the first one about the bomb and the end of the world in 1961, and Fallout was about the making of that film. And Dr. Helen Caldicott was in the film, and so was my mom was interviewed. It's a very powerful film, and it traces how he took the book, Neville Shute's book, and readapted it and filmed the whole thing on location in Melbourne, Australia. That was the first time anyone had ever really done that. And they named a street after my father, Stanley Kramer Drive in Melbourne. So I'm an honorary Australian citizen, just from the heart because of that. But Dr. Helen Caldicott, her whole life changed, and she became an anti-nuke activist and scientist, and leading voice against nuclear war. And it was my father's film that really made her make that decision when she was a teenager to become this voice for everyone. And she and Lily Tomlin, Lily was already the ambassador. She's an ambassador for Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World. We can go backtrack on her because she's also my performing idol. But she knew Dr. Caldecott for many, many years. In the 1980s, they both were anti-nuke, speakers, and she got the Helen Caldecott Award, which is a medal for someone who was an anti-nuke activist. So she came and hosted and introduced Helen, and she was my keynote speaker. She spoke for 30 minutes. And there was major call to action after that. And, I just had my 13th installment, and there were two of them, which I've never done before. I've never done two different movies. I may have two movies at the same screening, but I've never had two different movies for my 13th installment. And I did that in April of this year, a movie called Far Out about, they were also anti-nuclear activists. The radicals that set up the communes in New England. And that's called Far Out Life on and After the Commune by Charles Light. And then to have Walking Thunder, Ode to the African Elephant in August. Um, I've completed the 13th installments, two of them, and they both are environmentally focused. So, we could go into, the origin of each film that I've presented because usually they find me or someone suggests them, or I find them. But I would say the majority of the time it's filmmakers reaching out to me, will you please present my film? So I'm, over flooded with requests all the time. And I had a committee, but it's basically I make the final decision on what the films are going to be because I try to not repeat the issues as much. I want to, give room for different issues. So each one is basically a different issue. Sometimes they're interconnected, but I try and be fair to all because there's so many issues that we need to address. So I try and be as well-rounded as possible and give everything representation.
Oh, wonderful. That's so wonderful. You really are a catalyst, a voice for the world. It's amazing. And I'm sure just like a film festival, you get inundated with requests. Kat, can you look at this? Can you do this? And I know you want to give everyone a voice because you're such a loving heart, but it is a process. You probably have a whole team, right, that helps you filter through.
I do. And you know what? Heroes for Change came because Yentl was the first one that was all female empowerment. And I wanted to address the issue of, at that time, and it's still, but women in the Congo in certain, zones, they have to, or Yentl, the character of Yentl, had to disguise herself as a male just to be able to study.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
have to disguise themselves just not to get raped or slaughtered themselves. So I flew in women from the Congo, and we had the Enough Project and Raise Hope for Congo. I had representatives from that speak about, how Yentl touched on just women even having a voice so that they don't get slaughtered, raped, or die. And so it became more than just about Barbara having a voice in the film community. Then I decided I can't just make it female empowerment, it has to be universal for everyone. But Heroes for Change is presented by Films That Change the World, is only female empowerment, issues, documentaries, and also film and music, women making change, and touching on those intergenerational topics that are inspirational, and women that are sheroes that are making a difference is really what it focuses on.
I love this.
And
And
a
I
lot of it will be, the issues that we're facing now. And so it'll be hot button issues, and I've already got the lineup, but each one is a different look at a woman's issue. For the most part, it's female filmmakers, not all of them, but the focus of the film is female equality and female issues.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this. And this is wonderful. I want this out there so everyone, every woman can feel empowered and be lifted up by just even knowing this exists. Your company, Sheroes for Change, exists and it's out there. And so thank you so much for what you're doing, Kat. And also, I love Lily Tomlin. She's one of my favorites.
Oh, I'm so glad. She's my inspiration, and Shiro and Shiro's for Change was I created that in honor of her. and there's going to be a Shiro Award. And before we discuss that too much, because it's all evolving, I was so honored when Lily decided to team up with me because she's also an elephant advocate. She advocates for elephants in captivity and for elephant conservation, and that was the first, film that I presented with her. And so she became my ambassador. We were on television together discussing the elephant issue. Then she also narrates a award-winning documentary called Teach Your Children Well, which is about school bullying and LGBTQ bullying and the school violence. And, so many kids are bullied in school and then it gets into the workplace. But this was focusing on basically LGBTQ students being bullied. And she narrates this film. And so we were on CNN discussing it. And then she teamed up with me. And I did that film, I presented that film twice also. It was my fourth installment, but I did two special screenings of it. And we were at Sunset Gower, Sunset Bronson for all of these, except for the ones I did off site. And then I kind of outgrew the lot. I started there because of my father's origins there, but since that time I've used different venues. And during the pandemic, I decided I just did one, but the Lemley theater chain, Greg Lemley, is so great about supporting independent film and documentaries. So I worked with him, and I've been largely presenting the films the last few years at different Lemley theaters because they really do support the independent filmmaker.
Yes, he is
And
amazing.
this is I have teamed up with festivals before with films that changed the world with the Atomic Age Cinema Fest, and that was at Raleigh Studios. So, I don't even have, I don't have an actual home for it right now. It's different venues, and that's good because it gives people in different areas a chance to participate. But this will be at I'm finishing off, these have been at the Lemleys, two different Lemleys, and I did Q&As all back in April for different films that were at the Lemleys, including the Janice Ian documentary, which is so brilliant, Breaking Silence, and
Wow.
that's going to be part of Shiros for Change. So I was moderating that, and now I have a chance. They invited me to La Femme, so I'm doing it there. So it's been so much evolving, but I always have too many films I want to present, too many. With it's showing as many films as we can over a short period of time, over a weekend, and then it'll grow hopefully into beyond that. Because it's a lot to keep up a festival. And I look to like La Femme, who and also Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival, which I'm on the advisory board.
Oh,
We're celebrating the 33rd. It's going to be the 33rd anniversary coming up in 2026.
amazing.
That's all female solo artists, which I'm also. So, yeah, it's just it's a lot to focus and look to the leadership in the nonprofits because they're both nonprofits to keep these festivals alive, whether it's film or theater.
Yes, we need support to have them keep going. And I also wanted to say I love Lily Tomlin. I've always loved her. She's an inspiration to me and my heart. And also Jane Fonda, I wanted just to mention her. She's an incredible activist like yourself. Love what she is doing. And did you want to mention anything about Jane Fonda or go
Well,
ahead?
yeah, well, Lily, as I said, I've also done musical salutes for Lily, honoring her because I'm an aficionado on her career, and I'm also a solo performer, so she inspires me as the supreme, ultimate solo monologue. Um, I know she looked up to Ruth Draper before her, but let's face it, Lily really defines the genre of the solo show and stand-up comedy into the art of solo performance and being a performance artist. So that's where that inspiration really drives me is her solo performing. And Jane Fonda received the Stanley Kramer Award from the Producers Guild. My mother established the Stanley Kramer Award, at the PGA when he passed away in 2001, and it was first given out in 2002 to films or filmmakers that are carrying on his tradition, much like I'm doing in the cinema series. And some of them also get it for their body of work or activism. So Jane was one of those that was honored for not only producing socially conscious films, but being an activist. And when I grew up in Washington State, I actually didn't grow up in Hollywood. I was born here in LA, but I grew up in Seattle, Washington because my father and mom, but mostly my dad, he didn't want me and my sister to be in show business, and that's all we ever wanted. But he thought if he moved us to Washington State, it would be a more normal upbringing. But what both my parents didn't know is that Seattle, next to New York and Chicago, was like the leading theater community in the whole country. And so I started as a child performer. I was always a performer, but I started working in professional theater as a kid up there and also singing. They have a very active music scene, and I actually sang with the big bands as just a kid. I was like 10, 11 years old. A lot of the musicians that had played with the big bands back in the 40s had like retired up in the community. And so they had bands, and I became their girl singer. And one of them was the son of one of the band leaders. He was around my age. And so I became his girl singer with an all kid big band. So there was no way they could keep me out of showbiz. I was going to do that with my life and be in the industry and acting, singing, dancing, performing, comedy, producing, writing, anything that's creative, I was going to do that. And so my parents realized they couldn't stop me from being in the biz. So that's how that started up there was, I had all my training in Seattle before coming back to, well, I went to New York after that
You
and
did?
studied and worked in New York and then came back and we all made LA our home again.
Oh,
So
wow.
I forgot what you were asking before that, though. I don't
I
mean to go
love
off
this.
on tangents.
Oh, no, you're wonderful. I love this. I was going to ask you about your background and where you were raised, and this is so incredible. So, yes,
Gosh, okay. So Jane Fonda, that's what you were asking about. My mother had a school up in Seattle because I was a professional child actress, and she also did the school for me to have extra training because she was an actress, and now she's a producer, and she kind of gave up her acting career when she married my father and just helped him with his movies and cast his movies and she co-produced with him. She just didn't take the credit, which I think was wrong. I would have been more empowered, but she's from a different generation. She had a school for young people, a drama program, and we would bring up a lot of artists or celebrities, as they're called, like that had worked with my father. We even had Henry Winkler because he was so popular at the time and admired my parents. So Jane Fonda actually had called my father about something she wanted him to help her with Tom Hayden, who she was married to at the time. And my mom called back and said, "Why don't you come up to the school and talk to the students and we'll open up Seattle for you." Because she was being picketed up there when she had her exercise. That was with the start of the Jane Fonda workout. So she did come up to the school. She was like, it was like the biggest thing happening. We opened up the whole city for her. She was able to go back after that without having any problems. So we do take credit for smoothing that over. And she's always been a role model too. And she narrated a film about my father a few years after that called Kramer on Kramer, which is a kind of like a documentary retrospective. And so I support everything she does with her climate initiative, the Jane Pack, Fire Drill Fridays, which was through Greenpeace. Everything she's doing, she's really an activist supreme that actually is doing it. So many people, but she walks the walk and talks the talk. You know what I'm saying? She's the real deal. So, and she got the Stanley Kramer Award from the Producers Guild. So, yes, both Lily and Jane together are, sheroes, and they're in a lot of the documentaries that I'm going to be presenting. So, I definitely want to, shed light on everything that they do. It's a real inspiration.
Definitely. And Jane inspires me. I loved her workouts. I didn't know she was being protested, but my gosh, I've always been admired both Lily and Jane. And they're both amazing. And you are amazing as well, Kat. So I want to talk about this incredible photo that's on screen right now and the Rolling Stones. You've done a whole album, and
Yes.
you're an aficionado of the Rolling Stones, which I love. Take it away. Tell us.
I've always loved the Rolling Stones. I mean, I'm a musical theater, jazz, musical theater, show music, but I also love classic rock and roll. And my father gave me my first Rolling Stones album when I was like, I don't even think I was 5 years old yet. And that was back in the days where they kind of at the end of that, but when they had, LPs. And I just always loved them ever since. And back in like the mid 90s to the late 90s, I started singing the music and discovering that both of them had solo careers as solo artists apart from the Stones. And I've always felt, especially that Mick Jagger, because he's such an amazing performer and he's also an idol of mine, and because he's such a showman and he's such a visionary in terms of how arena, he invented like the rock shows and arenas. He invented the way they were done. He's always been such a visionary that he was being overshadowed also as like a rock god and a sex symbol, and that he was never taken as seriously as he needed to be as a solo artist, as a musician, as a lyricist, as a songwriter. Where Keith Richards, being a master guitarist, was always considered more, the heart and soul of the Stones, but it's really the two of them together. And Keith also had several solo albums, and I felt that the songs were not being appreciated, so I decided to do an album covering mostly Mick, though, because his songs are much more easier to get into the lyrics and interpret because he has a beginning, middle, and end, where Keith, is a guitar player, so he writes more for that. But both of them have amazing songs that are not part of the Stones. So I decided it's like I was guided again to do an album paying tribute to the Glimmer Twins, though it's not called that, but that's what they're, known as, focusing on their solo material that I felt that I could interpret from or reimagine in my own way, and then a couple of Stone songs that are more obscure that fit like a love theme from a female point of view. But I wouldn't do it, I wouldn't record it unless every single track had some musicians that had worked with the Stones, either as the Rolling Stones or with Mick and Keith on their solo projects. And I was lucky to get Jimmy Rip, who was Mick Jagger's musical director on all of his solo tours and on his albums. He became like his Keith Richards on his solo material. And he produced the whole album pretty much. And I got Bernard Fowler, who is the Stones' long-standing backup singer. And he also has recorded on their solo projects. And he worked with Mick on his solo albums. I got him to produce some of the tracks. He also worked with Keith Richards on his solo albums. And he also recorded with me, Bernard. And then the late Terry Reid, who just passed away a few months ago, he did a cut with me, a track. But the thing that made it legendary was I was able to get Billy Preston, who also passed away many years ago. I got Billy Preston to record Party Doll, which is my favorite Mick Jagger solo song off of his second solo album. And Billy Preston had worked with the Stones and had also recorded with Mick on some of his solo albums, but he didn't even know the song Party Doll. That's how obscure it was. So I got him to play on it, and also sing. And we were supposed to do two different songs together, but he was ill at the time, so I only got the one, and it played all over the radio, and I've kept this album really under wraps. It was sold on the black market kind of as a bootleg in Europe. And but it's never actually had its big launch in the United States. It's very much an underground project, but I believe because I'm still working on it, it's like ever evolving, that it will eventually be released. But I decided, I was told it might be good. I decided, but also someone suggested that I do a one-person show about having a duet with Mick Jagger, because that was really my ultimate goal, was that Mick himself would appreciate the album and would either sing on it or play harmonica because he's a great harmonica player as well, that somehow he would contribute to the album because every musician on there, for the most part, had all played with the Stones or with Mick. So the show is about my journey, but it's more of a fantasy. I took the Wizard of Oz template and plugged that into the journey of me going down Rolling Stones Road trying to get Mick Jagger to duet with me, and he's like the wizard figure. So with Wicked coming out and Wicked for Good, I mean the sequel, the timing is really good for anything inspired by the Wizard of Oz and also Mick Jagger. So yeah, that's a solo show I debuted with Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival, and I'm bringing it out again, soon in the next couple of years to continue fine tuning it. And there's another show that comes off of that called She's a Rainbow, which is also a Rolling Stones song. So that's about as much info I can give on that.
Oh my gosh, this is incredible, Kat. And we can't wait to have that album released in the future. I know it's evolving and still in process, but we'll look forward to that. And then also look forward to your next theater production. I mean, look at this photo here. You're right in the moment. It's such a incredible Hollywood moment and performance. I love it. And you've got your arms extended. You're wearing this great Rolling Stones tongue.
Yes, yeah, yeah, that's the logo. Yes, yeah.
Isn't that fun?
No, it was definitely an interesting show, and I didn't have all Stones music in it. I want to have that where it's all the Stones or the music of Mick, the solo music, but this was done where I parodied different songs in the story. So that's what I'm saying. It's ever evolving. But I did sing a couple of Stones songs, but the whole thing was original. A lot of it was original music
Oh,
with that theme.
beautiful,
Thank
beautiful.
you.
And I love this. And I love Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones. And you're right, they are trailblazers from England originally, but they've come a hit sensation in America and the world. And he's done,
Biggest live rock and roll band of all time. I mean, the Beatles and the Stones. For me, it's the Stones, but I mean, those are the two classic British invasion rock. And the Stones are still going. They're going to be touring again, and they have new music on the way. So who at that, they'll be playing, and Mick will be performing till the day he dies, and so will Keith. I completely believe that.
I do too. And I want to ask you what you love the most about Mick Jagger. I'll share with you that what I love the most about Mick Jagger is he is free on stage, meaning he lets everything out and whatever creativity comes in within his thought, he does and he goes for it. And I love that freedom. What do you love about Mick
Well,
Jagger?
I should have worn my Stone shirt today. I almost did, but because I used to wear only Stones. I even had the shoes for the show, the Ruby Skechers, because it's based on Dorothy's, the red shoes. It's a Wizard of Oz parody, and they were the shoes made specifically for me in the show to go with the logo. But and I have Rolling Stone Skechers shoes that I actually wear. No, it's Mick is a great performer. He's a showman. It's his performing, not only his dancing and his moves, but his originality, his showmanship, that he's also a tongue in cheek and he's an actor, but he tongue in, doesn't take himself too seriously in the music, I think. And is just a visionary, a real trailblazer.
He
And
really
I
is.
think the greatest frontman and live performer of all time.
I agree. I agree.
Me.
And your favorite, and I love that. And I love that you're an aficionado of the Rolling Stones and Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. And you touched on Wicked coming out soon. I
The
can't
sequel,
wait.
yes. Well, it's not really the sequel. I mean, it is, but it's the whole show. The first movie was just the first part, and now the For Good is the last part of the show. They decided to divide it into two films.
Yes,
And the first one was so amazing. It was my favorite movie last year. Just incredible.
me too.
Loved it.
And I love it too. I'm so excited for it to premiere in November. Are you, Kat, looking forward to going
Yes,
to it?
yes, yes, absolutely. And I'm the other thing in November I'm should touch on is that Nuremberg is coming out. It's not it's not a remake of Judgment at Nuremberg, which was one of my father's classics, but it's a trial that based on a book about the psychiatrist Douglas Kelly, who had to see if Goring and the different Nazis were fit to stand trial. And it's, in a sense, I know they used the real footage just like my father did. He showed the real footage of the Nazis taking the bodies and the corpses and dumping them. I mean, it's the footage that stunned the world because it was shown at the actual trials. But this movie is a trial that nobody knows about. And the reason I bring this up is this is the 80th anniversary of the Nuremberg trials. And Nuremberg is the one movie where really that my whole family, that my mom and I have been waiting for, even more than Wicked for good, because it's, it pays homage to what my father did with Judgment at Nuremberg, even though they're completely different movies. And Russell Crowe is also my favorite actor of his generation, and that's even on my IMDb page. And he doesn't, I've already seen the film, but I'm going to be seeing it again, of course. He does just the most amazing job playing Goring. I mean, it was, everybody has to see this movie and this performance. And I have to say that it's different than my father's film, but it's a very good companion piece. But I'm going to be presenting Judgment at Nuremberg for Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World in November at the end of the month. It hasn't been announced yet, but to celebrate, if you can use that word, not to celebrate, but to, because there's nothing to celebrate about what happened, but to mark the milestone of the Nuremberg trials. And then on the beach, which I mentioned earlier, that's also the subject of that is also celebrating its 80th anniversary, if you can believe, the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So I'm going to be doing something with both those films as a Stanley Kramer double feature, and I would like to also present Nuremberg as, the new Nuremberg for the new generation that needs to see, to keep it in everyone's memories what happened in with the Holocaust, because I think this movie really does a great job of it.
But what did you love the most about it?
Well, he wasn't a show business person. I mean, I'm a little bit more theatrical in that sense. He never, I mean, I love to talk about the business and the mostly the creativity and performances and, the writing of the scripts and how somebody executes a scene, more about the nuts and bolts, but he never discussed the Hollywood journey ever with the family. He always kept his work separate. And he was a family man. He was always like home for dinner at 6. Once he was done on set, he would be, and he made most of his big movies before I was born and before my sister was born. But, we were at the tail end of that. But he just wasn't a Hollywood. He was antisocial. He was not a social person. I'm much more social because I think it's about the only way you make change is through community and through grassroots. So I'm much more a social activist in that sense, but he wasn't a Hollywood, he didn't participate on the Hollywood scene. And of course, I didn't grow up here, so I didn't do that either. But when I came back, I'm a lot more industry oriented with networking than he ever was. But we're different people. But what I get from him is just the sense of determination, and he never wanted to be known as a message movie maker. He just wanted to explore stories that were important to him because Eleanor Roosevelt had been a mentor to him early in his life. And he went to NYU when he was 15 years old. So he was a prodigy from Hell's Kitchen. That's a whole other background. And he grew up with a single mom. And supposedly it was told to him that, boys, it was very much, well, it wasn't the female empowerment time. This was before the women's rights, before women had before the second wave of feminism. So he didn't grow up around that. That's why I'm kind of living out his legacy, but more from the female empowerment, female equality point of view. But he was told that you could only be a prize fighter, a priest, or a criminal, I think, in Hell's Kitchen, because it was really, a very rough place to be born. But he started writing letters to Eleanor Roosevelt when he was a teenager because she refused to support the Daughters of the American Revolution, which she was part of that group, because Marian Anderson was not allowed to sing the national anthem because she was black. And that really affected my father. So he was always for civil rights and human rights, but mostly civil rights from a very early age. So everything that he stood for and all the issues that he touched upon have just been part of my DNA. And I never really tried to be a message movie maker either. But I mean, it just something that I guess I just learned by osmosis. It's just what
Absolutely.
I'm drawn to.
I have a few other questions here, but I wanted to touch on Kat, this photo here. It says Kat Kramer is deliciously smarmy as Fran. Richard Pages, that's the independent critic. This is the turnovermovie.com. Tell us about that.
Turnover is an amazing independent film that I was cast as the role of Fran Parvo, and she's kind of the villainess in the movie. But it's a family-friendly film, and it launched during the pandemic on Amazon Prime and many different platforms. I'm also a co-producer on the film, and it's really about second chances. And I play the ex-wife of the lead character, Peter, which is played by the amazing Paul Guilfoyle. And I have a son in there, an actor that I discovered. I cast him as my son, Sean. His name is Daniel Hoffman. And I don't want to give the story away because people need to see it, but we just relaunched on Tubi TV just in August, so people can watch it for free on Tubi. We wanted to make it available because it's a movie about diversity, inclusion, as I said, second chances, community. We have two Down syndrome actors in the cast because they play characters of Down syndrome. We cast real Down syndrome actors and deaf talent because I advocate for the deaf community. I will say that in the script, which is a female, it was written by Lorraine Griffith and Linda Palmer, and the great Linda Palmer is also the director and producer. It was largely a female crew. There was hardly any males on it. It was all definitely female centric, but it's a film, it's an ensemble film about you know, embracing change in community and empathy and heart and all the things that I want to stand for. Fran is the ex-wife of the lead character, and she wants him to be successful. She leaves him for a younger guy because he was too old for her. I mean, he definitely was too old for Fran, the character that I play. And but she evolves and gets a heart during the film too. You really have to see it. And I was honored to win Best Supporting Actress at the Love International Film Festival, which is a very regarded indie festival. Beat out a lot of actresses that were it's an international festival. So the film also itself has won multiple awards, and there's so many great performers in it, from Jamie Brewer, Beverly Todd, Donna Mills, Carlos Carrasso, Riker Lynch. It's a very, very strong ensemble, and that's just some of them. And during the pandemic, it got a huge audience because it's also a foodie film about a restaurant. And families really embraced this film, and also the deaf community and the disabilities community at large. And so we just got new distribution, and the filmmakers re-edited the film for a new generation, and it just relaunched on Tubi. So I tell everyone, go to Tubi and look up Turnover, and you'll see this amazing movie. I thought it should be a TV series. There was talk of that. It may still happen, but The Bear came along, which is also about a restaurant, and kind of we were on the right track, to make a series out of it. But I'm very proud of the film and the performance, and I made a lot of indie films during that time, and this is the one that really is about, diversity, inclusion, and equality.
I love this so much. And congratulations, Kat, on um, winning the award, so many awards, and from the Love Film Festival. That's huge. And then also that it sounds like a fun, independent film. And I do hope I hope it gets into a series because it sounds like it would really be a smash hit. And we
We
want
had a theatrical run, when it was first released, we played it in theaters, and then it moved to Amazon Prime and other platforms. It was on a lot of other different platforms. And then when it came on Tubi, everybody's been talking about it, and it has a new life.
yes,
But
yes.
it's a perfect film for Thanksgiving and, during family holidays to watch because it really embraces, outsiders, and it's an underdog film, and it has something for everyone. It's for all generations.
Oh, I love that. I love the message and everything about it, Kat. Thank you for that. And speaking of wonderful independent films that change the world, in your view, what makes a film change the world? Is it the message, artistry, the audience? And how do you choose films to champion through your series?
Well, I mean, it's a call to action is important and having an impact campaign because I'm also an impact producer. But how do I choose films? Well, usually I'll get several films on the same subject or similar subject and decide, do I just pick one, the strongest one, or the one that has the most, name value in terms of reaching a wide audience with who's going to support it, who's going to get behind it. But if the film makes impact, I'll try and show all of them. But for the most part, I try and, select different issues. Now with Sheroes for Change, which is an outreach festival from Films That Changed the World, that's only going to be female focused films. And I've chosen so many of them for the launch and new ones coming in every day. There's just, a plethora of movies being made and independent films, and there's never, you can never have too many voices making a difference. So what I say is try and present as many as possible. But I have sometimes been given films on the same subject and had to make a choice, which is the one that best represents the issue that's going to get the most call to action and make the most impact.
Great. Thank you for that, Kat. And will Sheroes for Change be on Film Freeway? And will you have a podcast or a new web series category?
I'm gonna have the podcast in the new web series category for sure. I don't know if it will be on Film Freeway eventually, but not for the first year because all those films have been curated by me and some of the filmmakers are finishing their films, some of them that have already been selected just based on the preview. So those I've already selected. But as it grows, yes, I believe I'll be using Film Freeway, but we have to get it launched first and curating it has been very exciting, but also challenging because to make sure that the filmmakers can actually have their films ready or have them edited properly for the first year launch, or that they can even be in person for it.
Yeah.
So I might consider a hybrid in the future where part in person, part online, because you can get people from all over the world to participate in the Q&As and panels and see the films without having to actually be here. But I'm trying to launch, the award ceremony with it because I did establish the Hunt for Humanity Award, which I'll get into at Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World all the way back in 2015. And it was named for the late Marcia Hunt, who was the very first recipient of it because it's named after her. And she was alive in 2015. And she was a blacklisted actress, but she was already known as and really legitimately the first activist. She was the first actress which I refer to as an activist, to really use their voice to make social change and became a UN ambassador and fought for the homeless and all even Jane Fonda and Lily and Patricia Arquette and so many actresses that you see today that are fighting for equality for everyone. Marcia Hunt was the one that started that. So I'm moving the Hunt for Humanity Award over to Sheroes for Change, and that will be given at the same ceremony as the Shiro Award. So it'll be the first Shiro Award, the second Hunt for Humanity Award. Only sadly, Marcia passed away. She was about to be 105, if you can believe that. And she passed away in 2022. And I want the next recipient to be so worthy of it. And I've already have in mind who should be the recipient, but it's all about them being available to accept in person. So that's what the holdup has been. But it will happen in 2026.
Wow, so exciting and something to look forward to. I love all of this breaking news that you're giving me, Kat. It's so much fun. Invest or be a member. Do you have ideas and plans for that? Please share
Well,
it with us.
Heroes for Change will be membership driven, but I'm saying I have to launch it first. But yes, I have a team already in place, but I am looking to grow the team so they can get in touch with me through my website, and it'll be nonprofit soon, so that I thought I'd throw that out there. And then I'll definitely be looking for volunteers and an ongoing team. I was asked to write the introduction and afterward for the Evergreen Christmas Tree last year, which is the first really inclusive children's book. For families, but it's really for children where sign language is taught in the book. So that is coming back out again for the holidays. And the companion book, Raymond Signs, which is all sign language, and he's Raymond is a character that was introduced in the Evergreen Christmas Tree, and he's a deaf, hard of hearing character, and he teaches the kids all the signs in the Appalachian Forest in Tennessee. So you really have to get both books to appreciate the message. But I also wrote the forward for this. And the first book, The Evergreen Christmas Tree, is not just about sign language and inclusion for all and teaching sign language as an alternative language. And I mean sign language internationally, not just ASL, because the book is published in different languages around the world and went to Europe, and it's all over the world. Um, but it's also about replanting Christmas trees to keep a message alive, to keep a memory alive, but it's also about replanting Christmas trees and conservation. So it's got the environmental message and also the message of equality for the deaf community and for the hard of hearing community as well. So I think it's again a message book, and I'll say this, we're making short films out of the books, and it's really taking off, and they're both available now, but between now and the holidays, there's going to be a huge push for it.
Yes, what a great Christmas gift
It's
for
written by Jimmy Burge, I must say. These are his first books. He's a poet and a writer based in Tennessee, from Tennessee. And Patricia Riley is also part of the team. We have a whole team, and you'll be hearing a lot more about it once the books are launched together.
amazing. And will they be
Well, you
launched?
can get Raymond Signs now on Amazon. That's the platform it's on. It'll be in the bookstores and other platforms between now and the end of the year.
Wonderful. So, could you share one more time the title and the author for us, Kat?
The Evergreen Christmas Tree and Raymond Signs, meaning that he does sign language, Raymond Signs, both by Jimmy Burge. That's the writer, the author.
Wonderful. And look for them on Amazon.
Yes, yes.
Great. Okay. So, and can I just tell you, Kat, that you do remind me a lot of your godmother. Uh,
Oh my goodness, she would be so. She always said, always be fascinating. And I do an impersonation of her, but it's actually a character called Auntie Kate in my duet with Mick. She's a character that actually is in the solo show. So I try to incorporate her in my stand-up and everything that I do, but she's actually in that show.
Incredible. And what's your favorite? I mean, you're very good at how she talks. I mean, there's a definite pause when you do Katharine Hepburn, right? So, now, do you have any stories you want to share, special memories?
Oh, there's so many, but I'm on that documentary that's on Netflix called Call Me Kate, and I shared one of the stories. I gave a lot of stories to them, and they only incorporated one, and then I did voiceover. I didn't do her voiceover because they hired another actress who was much older who did the Kate voiceover, which I could have done, but I used my own voice to tell some stories. So I just think I'm going to be saving those for my own autobiography when it finally comes out. But look at Call Me Kate on Netflix to see some of the stories about her and some of my stories. That would be
Amazing.
the best advice.
Amazing. That is wonderful. We'll check that out. And for all of you, check that out. That's going to be fascinating. And I think you are fascinating, Kate,
Thank
Kat,
you. I
Kat.
go by Kate and Kat. I just don't go by Kathy, but I was Katie when I was a little girl, but I really embrace the name of Kat best. But I've been Kate as well.
Amazing. And you're so much fun to be around. I want to let you know that you've got so many wonderful things happening and you are a go-getter. You are a motivator. You're an inspiration, Kat, and you are I mean this in the highest compliment. You are a elegant machine.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I remember that, an elegant machine. I'm going to quote you.
Please do. And I love that because people like you, Kat, wonderful people like you, motivate and inspire others in the world. This is what we need, especially now, because the world is at a bit of a state. Don't you agree that it's a
It truly is a mad, 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 mad world, as my father would say. Yes, the world's in turmoil. I mean, every generation thinks it is, but it really is right now. We could have a nuclear war tomorrow, it's very possible. That's why On the Beach needs to be seen again. Obviously Judgment at Nuremberg and the new Nuremberg, but also if we don't deal with the climate crisis, we're not going to be here anyway. So all those issues that my father touched upon and that I'm carrying on his legacy, we really need to pay attention.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Kat. And you've been described as, or you've described your work as art with a purpose. How do you personally define the intersection between creativity and activism?
Well, there's two different ways of doing that. Some are artivists, which I like to call myself, which is a combination of artist and activist. And that means you are drawn to subjects in the projects, in your art that tackle the social issues or that shed light on taboo subjects or bring to light, raise awareness of issues we need to look at, human rights issues primarily. And then there's the other kind of performer that is very popular, does their work and doesn't necessarily bring those issues into their work, but they advocate for causes off camera. So I think that's the two different ways of looking at being an artivist. You either can do it through your work or use your voice as a popular artist to shed light on issues. So I mean, I'm actually comfortable doing both.
Yes, and you're very good at it. And do you feel filmmakers uh, have a moral responsibility to use their art to address social issues?
I do, but I think it's a personal choice. I don't think if somebody, it would be better if they did, but I wouldn't be someone to tell them or preach, you have to do this. It's great to use your platform for whatever you believe in.
I,
But if you choose not to, then that's your business.
mhm. I love that. And Kat, do you approach storytelling differently in front of the camera versus behind the camera?
No, I mean it's different mediums. I mean it's not mediums. How do I put? Well, it is in a sense. It's a different hat that I have to wear, but no, you're still telling the same story. So it's still storytelling and getting messages out there and communication, whether you're behind the camera or in front.
Yes. Yes. Do you have any other events or upcoming films? We talked about the La Femme Film Festival coming up. Do you have any others that you want to promote and talk about?
Well, just the presenting Judgment at Nuremberg and On the Beach, and
Yes.
hopefully Nuremberg doing that. Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World has never presented Stanley Kramer films before. As I mentioned, the closest I ever came to that was Fallout, which was an original documentary made in 2013 by Australian filmmakers about Stanley Kramer taking Neville Shute's book On the Beach and adapting it to film. That was the closest I ever came to presenting any of my father's films. The other films are all diverse and different, and they had all have social issue messages, even from Celebrating Laughter, which was the one about the late Colin Higgins who made 9 to 5, and Harold and Maude and Out on a Limb, the Shirley MacLaine miniseries, and Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. And he wrote Harold and Maude. He didn't direct it, but he was had a short-lived career, sadly, because he passed away at an early age. That was a film about a filmmaker and the filmmaking process for anyone who wants to be in films and also make films with a message, but it wasn't a Stanley Kramer movie. So I've never ever shown my father's films until coming up to have the like a revival of Judgment at Nuremberg and On the Beach, because both subjects are celebrating the 80th anniversary this year. So that will be happening next month.
Wonderful.
It
And
hasn't been announced yet, but you're hearing the exclusive, and people will be able to get tickets for that as well.
thank you so much, Kat. And this is going to be fabulous because a whole new generation and different viewers who have not seen those wonderful films of your father's are going to watch them and get the full cinematic experience of, his directing and his storytelling. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, also I've been very inclusive in the past. I've had his movies for deaf audiences. So I've had like open caption pres also of Lily Tomlin's grandma, I meant to mention, was my eighth installment for Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World. And there's no deaf characters in the film. There's no deaf actors, but Lily is a hearing actress and a hearing icon who's embraced by the non-hearing world because she used ASL in her film debut Nashville, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and she also used sign language on Sesame Street. So she is known by all the deaf community as a much beloved hearing actress, but she had representation and used ASL in her first big role. So I decided to bring Grandma, which was 10 years ago. That was also a Nashville anniversary because I forgot which year, but it was an anniversary. And people know her also from the Magic School Bus, and the whole deaf community knows her anyway. To have Grandma be an open caption film, which means the captions are on screen, and I had a 50% deaf audience and the other 50% hearing, and a huge panel I moderated with. We had like 10 ASL interpreters, and Troy Kotsur, who won the Oscar for Coda. He's the first deaf actor to win an Oscar. Marlee Matlin was the first actress. He's also a filmmaker, and he was on the panel. And this was in 2015. Coda was 2021. So nobody even knew who Troy was in the community at large. And nobody in Hollywood really knew who he was. And I feel that I was able to introduce him through Grandma, which is a film that, like I said, to give the deaf culture a chance to see a first run movie and experience a panel Q&A without having a deaf character in it, because they've been so largely left out of any kind of inclusion. So that now that started a trend. And luckily Marlee Matlin is also a governor at the Academy, and so she's been very and well, she should be very much an advocate to make sure that everything's captioned. So now you can't even really enter a film into the Oscar race unless you also have a captioned version. But I have to say that I was proud to be the first film that I presented on a studio lot in like 20 years that was an open caption presentation. So that's another thing that my series does is, and so will Sheroes for Change, make it inclusive for deaf and the disabilities community.
Wow, this is phenomenal. And thank you so much, Kat.
A documentary about her is amazing that Shoshana Stern, who's also deaf, directed, and Shoshana came to the Grandma event at the Sony lot. And also I did ASL Cabaret with her, which was a live show we used to always have through Signmation, and Joanne Dean, who presented that in LA, which was a combination of hearing and deaf performers singing or doing poetry. It was a cabaret show, a variety show. So I got to work with a lot of deaf talent on those as well. So I've been a hearing, able-bodied person advocating for the deaf community for a long time. And I think it's because I played Helen Keller at a young age, who was blind, deaf, and mute. So I've always advocated for the disabilities community. And my
Yes.
father had, real paraplegics in the men. He used real Down syndrome kids in A Child is Waiting, and in Ship of Fools, he had the little person Michael Dunn. So he also was ahead of the curve and ahead of his time in that way as well.
Yes, yes. I love Marlee Matlin and
Yeah, she's a real trailblazer too. Yes, absolutely.
amazing. And I think I saw on Instagram Jane Fonda doing some sign
Yes.
language.
Yes, when
And
she won for Coming Home, this was after Lily had done Nashville, that was in 75. Jane did in her acceptance speech for Coming Home, I think in 78, 79, to introduce sign language to the masses through that. So both of them have embraced sign language as a second language.
amazing. And can you sign and help me teach me something on
I
sign?
I'm so I'm still learning sign language. That's the thing. I'm an advocate for the community, but it's very hard. And always say I'm going to be studying, and I have, but it usually I just need a lot of work. But tree, I know the sign for
Tree.
tree, the evergreen Christmas tree, and you go like this. Yeah, and I have a sign named Beautiful Cat. I believe it's this that they gave me as my own sign name. But yeah, remember this for the evergreen Christmas tree.
I love that.
That's
Thank
that's a perfect book for the holidays and for environmentally conscious families and children and the deaf community and just anybody who wants to learn sign language. I recommend both those books because I think it's the only children's book, the first one, The Evergreen Christmas Tree, or one of the only ones that has a whole sign language guide in the back of the book, so it's inclusive for everyone. And then, of course, Raymond Signs, it shows all the signs in the book, and he teaches them the signs, so you'll learn sign language based on these books. Not the
incredible.
whole, not everything, but I mean, it's a very good start for anyone wanting to learn.
Awesome. So I can buy a book and learn a few
Yes,
signs
yes,
there.
yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's lovely. I'm looking forward to that. You've worked, Kat, with and been surrounded by many Hollywood icons. Is there a lesson or advice that they shared with you that has stayed with you and that you still hold on to today?
My dad taught me take the work seriously and yourself not at all. So I think that's the best advice.
It really is.
And then Spencer Tracy, but I never knew him, but he used to say, just learn your lines and try not to bump into the furniture. But I and follow your own heart as a guide, and follow your intuition. So that's the advice I take to heart.
Follow your own heart and follow your own intuition, your gut level, your gut
Yeah,
instinct,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, your inner voice. Always listen to it.
Great, great. Thank you for that. What has been the most surprising or rewarding part of your journey so far? Because it's still on a wonderful trajectory upward as both an artist and activist. What are you most proud of? I know you're so proud of all these wonderful films and events and productions.
Most proud of the fact that I'm carrying on my parents' legacy by doing my own thing without, with following in the footsteps, but in my own way, in my own style. And I'm proud of what I have yet to, I mean, how do I put it? I look forward to what I have to still do because I still have a lot to do. So I'm proud, but I'm always very aware that I'm still learning everything. You have to still keep learning, and nobody knows everything. You have to grow as an artist and as a person. But I'm very proud of the fact that I stick with the keeping the inclusion part of everything I do to make sure that the disabilities community is included. I think that's the thing I'm most proud of. And to also make sure that I really follow through with my own dreams and goals, which I haven't even really scratched the surface yet. I have to say, I don't feel I've accomplished any of it yet that I need to do.
I agree. And you're so lovely to talk to, Kat. I just enjoy speaking with you and spending time with you so much. How do you stay inspired and grounded in an industry that sometimes prioritizes glamour over substance?
Yeah, because I know that my idols like Lily is all about substance, and I just well, I try and teach them, strangely enough, through Kat Kramer's films that change the world and Sheroes for Change. That's a good point I'm about to bring up. When I first started the series and presenting that, and also with the festival, it's about bringing them in. So I would have a very glitzy premiere-like atmosphere with the red carpet and the reception and, a lot of celebrities and to give it that glamour and then hit them with the film, which is very, in your face and intense, and then have a think tank panel, which is what I call it. My father kind of started that phrase, the think tank, having more than a panel or a Q&A. It's conversations where people can debate practically or give different points of view. So I think that's how I stay grounded is by having combining the Hollywood glitz with the substance in my presentations. That's the best way of showing that both exist and to try and stay focused.
Yes, and I love that you have your father's business sense because it's show business. Show,
Yeah.
you do the show very well, and you also do the business very well. And you,
I'm much stronger in the show and I'm learning about the business part. I still always feel I'm evolving in that sense.
me too. I think we all are together on the journey, right, Kat?
Absolutely. I'm much more interested in the creative and the show part than the business sense. So it is a challenge to marry both, but I'm definitely I don't like to use the word try. I like to use the word doing. I'm in the process of incorporating and doing both.
We are. We're doing
And
it.
a learning curve. Yes, yeah.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you so much. Yes,
Thank you.
we're doing it. So finally, Kat, this time has gone so fast, and we have to start wrapping up the show. I'm so sorry, but I have adored and tremendously loved every minute and every second of being with you. You are absolutely amazing, Kat.
Oh, I feel the same. I'm honored to do it.
Oh, wow, thank you so much. That means so much to me, Kat, coming from you. Um, and I so appreciate that. And so with this final question, if you could deliver one message to today's filmmakers and reach and touch their hearts using cinema as a tool for social change, what would you say to them?
Well, I advocate for this amazing gentleman, Ron Moyer, who makes these hearts, and his mission is hearts forward. And I've given Lily, she has the most hearts, and I've given Jane Fonda, a couple of other, and my mom has one, Kathy Griffin, because she's a comedian who really needs, everybody's support, but to open the heart chakra. So Hearts Forward is about these hearts are supposed to be passed on to other people that you feel whoever has the heart, as I said, Lily has the most, but Jane Fonda has one too. I personally give the hearts to them in person, is to open your heart, to open hearts and minds is what I would tell everyone. That's what the purpose of the heart is. So that's what I would tell upcoming filmmakers. You have to lead with your heart and your mind, but I think the heart is most important.
It really
Yeah,
is.
lead with your heart. Right, exactly.
Lead with your heart. And we love you so much, Kat.
Thank you.
I love that you give hearts out, and that's something that you and I have in bond in common. I always have a signature on my show saying, "What is your heart message?" That's always the last question that I ask all of my
I
guests.
would have shown it, but I don't have it with me now because I only have one heart. I got one first, and then I asked for them and only special people are getting the heart that have inspired me or that have the platform to move the world. So only specific people are getting the hearts. And there's a couple more that I won't say yet that are going to be getting hearts. But like I said, Lily has the most because she's been the biggest inspiration to me overall.
Yes, and we love her as well. And thank you so much. So with that, I know you just gave wonderful advice for filmmakers all over the world. Lead with your heart, and I love that. Do you have another heart message for the world, for people? What needs to change in the world, Kat?
Well, one of Lily Tomlin's best quotes is that I use to quote her, and it's an activism quote. I always thought that somebody should do something about that. Then I realized I was somebody. meaning that people are always saying, oh, someone should help with that or fix that problem or help those children or help the homeless or help the animals until you realize that you're the one and one person can be a voice and make a difference.
I love that.
So I always quote her.
I love that so much. It's really up to us, isn't it, to change? We are the change.
Yes, yes, we are the change. That's another great quote. Be the change you wish to see. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Kat. I've
That's the
enjoyed
Gandhi quote, I believe.
it's the Gandhi quote.
Be the change you wish to see in the world. Yes.
It's so lovely. It's so lovely,
Okay.
Kat. Thank you for that. And Kat, before we wrap the show, is there anything else you wanted to say, give a special thank you or shout out to?
Just keep on keeping on. That's what I always say. Keep fighting the good fight.
Keep
Keep
fighting.
on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. That's a classic, and I love it. Well, thank you so much, Kat, for your time today.
Thank you.
You are exquisite, and this has been a real Hollywood moment for me. I want to thank you from the depths of my heart.
Oh, me too.
You are a true classic and elegant representation of Hollywood, and we love you mwah, so much, Kat. And
So much.
also, I can't wait for our next time we're together and we speak.
Me too. I feel the same.
Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Bye.